If you guys are picking in the middle of your draft, 5, 6, 7, or 8, this is the video for you. We're going to go over optimal draft strategies for you guys in the middle of the board, and we'll tell you who we have ranked there, what to do in the early rounds, and we'll do 2 mock drafts at the end of this one on flockfantasy.com and one on Sleeper to showcase some of the strategy from this area of the board. Before we say anything here, the beginning of this tier, you guys can see it on the screen in our rankings in our draft guide. We have Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins, and Puka Nacua. Those are our combined rankings. Before we say anything else, though, it goes without saying that if Chase, Bijan, Gibbs, or CeeDee Lamb fall, who were in the 1 to 4 video, they are the optimal pick by our rankings. So just adapt your strategy to the running back in the first round or the wide receiver in the first round if one of those guys fall.
100%. And based on the current multi-site ADP, the most likely of that quartet to fall has actually been CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, we do see in some drafts go in the 105, 106 spot. Again, if you're picking at 7 or 8, very unlikely he would fall that far. But I have seen a couple instances where CeeDee Lamb is the faller of that top 4. And you guys know how I feel about that, given my second overall player.
Yeah, and actually in multi-site ADP, both Jahmyr Gibbs and CeeDee Lamb are going at 105 and 106 respectively, because Justin Jefferson and Saquon Barkley are 103 and 104, who you and I have in this tier. So a little bit of a slight fade on those guys for us. But let's say you have pick number 5. We'll start off with pick number 5 because picks 6 through 8 for us are all wide receivers. So the strategy is pretty easy. Pick number 5 in both of our rankings is Saquon Barkley. The optimal start for Saquon Barkley, in our opinion, is a hero running back start. And then you're kind of going to go BPA in the second round with a onesie probably in the third round. I would say of all of the areas of the board, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, getting a third round onesie feels the best in the 5 to 8 hole because you're getting those top tier guys. You're getting in the third round Trey McBride, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson at the best value you can get them at.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why we have round 2 as a BPA situation, because it really truly depends what your league mates do in front of you. Is the best player on the board Chase Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving? Or is the best player on the board maybe a guy like A.J. Brown or Loudon McConkey? You really just kind of have to see what falls to you and adapt your strategy based on that.
Yeah, and if you're picking at 7 or 8, it is possible that, like, for whatever reason, Drake London or Derrick Henry could fall to you. If you're picking at the 8 hole and on the wraparound, one of those guys would fall to you. That would obviously be great, but I don't think you want to plan for that. You kind of want to plan for the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario at 5 to 8, you're looking at A.J. Brown, Loudon McConkey at wide receiver. You're looking at Chase Brown, JT, Bucky Irving at running back. And maybe you're looking at Brock Bowers if he's there for you. I'm personally not, but you might be in that situation if you really love Brock Bowers. So you could also get your onesie in round 2, and then in round 3, take the best available running back or wide receiver.
Exactly. That is the other factor. If you did want to take a Brock Bowers, again, his ADP is around this range, I think that would totally make sense, especially if you know, for instance, hey, my league, I know I can get Chase Brown in the 3rd round, so I'd rather take my onesie early and be done with it.
Yeah, and you also might be in any leagues where tight ends are pushed up the board, or maybe there's any kind of tight end premium or something like that, and getting Brock Bowers, or even maybe in a tight end premium league, Trey McBride would make some sense in the mid-second round. The backup start, if let's say you don't want to take Saquon Barkley, or if the best available player for you in your personal rankings is a wide receiver at 5, maybe it's Justin Jefferson, you have him over Saquon Barkley. Maybe CeeDee Lamb falls to you, and he gets to you at number 5. The backup ideal start here would be hero wide receiver with either Jefferson or Lamb, whoever's there for you, and then double hero running back. And this is especially true if you guys are in leagues like me and Danny play in, where it's wide receiver heavy formats, full PPR. Maybe it's a 3 wide receiver start type of league. The best pick most likely on the board for you will be Justin Jefferson. Round 2, you're going to hit that running back cluster of Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor. Maybe you get lucky in an Achane or a Henry or a Genty falls to you, but more than likely to be Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, or Jonathan Taylor. And then in round 3, you can kind of do what we said with Chase and Lamb in the first video. Hero wide receiver plus double hero running back. You should still catch Amari and Hampton, maybe Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, James Cook, Kenneth Walker in that 3rd round territory at that 305 to 308. Or worst case scenario, you do take Josh Allen, Trey McBride, or Lamar Jackson, who might be the best players on the board.
Yeah, unlike the 1 to 4 video, which we already had, and as you guys will watch later on, the 9 through 12 video, the 5 to 8 range, you are very much at the mercy of your draft board, like we kind of said. There is not one exact strategy per se. It's about adapting to what's going on around you. So that's why there's a lot of ifs, I would say, in the strategy portion of this particular range, because you don't necessarily know what your league mates are going to be valuing, and you want to kind of adapt based off of it.
Yeah, especially in the 2nd and 3rd round, because at least with the 1 to 4 and the 9 to 12, in the 2nd and 3rd round, you kind of know what territory you're hitting. But in the first round at wide receiver and running back, you're probably getting a better guy, but you kind of pay for it in the second and third round because you might not catch the end of that tier break in round 2, and you might have to start kind of a new tier in round 3 as well. So that's kind of how we would handle pick number 5, is that, yeah, we would go with Saquon Barkley, but if you do want to go with Justin Jefferson, or if CeeDee Lamb falls to you, that's kind of how you can adapt.
We said Saquon Barkley. Maybe in your league, it's Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs because Saquon Barkley goes before that. The strategy would also apply to both Gibbs and Bijan Robinson for the optimal start.
Absolutely. So let's start with picks 6 to 8 here now, because for both of us, 6 to 8 are all wide receivers. So for me, I have Justin Jefferson at 6, Malik Neighbors at 7, and Puka Nacua at 8. For you, you have Justin Jefferson at 6, Nico Collins at 7, and Puka Nacua at 8 with Malik Neighbors at 9. So for us, this is kind of the cluster of where we want to go with the hero wide receiver. And the question for me, especially because I'm kind of picking in this range, I pick at 9 in my home league, but it is very similar range of players that you're looking at here. For me, the optimal start, if you're going 6 to 8 and you're taking a wide receiver in the first round, is to take a wide receiver again in round 2 and go with a double hero wide receiver, especially if you're in leagues where you feel like you can get running backs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round later on. Hypothetically, you do a double hero wide receiver start. You take Justin Jefferson at the 6 hole, Malik Neighbors at the 7 hole, Nico or Puka Nacua at the 8 hole, something like that. In round 2, there's a very good chance, especially if you're picking at 8 specifically, that a Drake London could fall to you, or an AJ Brown in my case, because I would be willing to take him that high, could fall to you. And then in round 3 and beyond, you get your running backs there. You take Amari Hampton, you take Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Kenneth Walker, James Cook. Maybe into round 4, you're looking at Trevion Henderson, Alvin Kamara, those type of guys. You're basically doing a double hero wide receiver on the basis that the first 10 wide receivers off the board, as I talked about in the number 1 draft strategy video, are hammers, are positional advantages. And you feel like kind of the low end RB1 to mid RB2 range have a lot of upside, which both of us agree they do.
This is going back to the strategy portion where we mentioned how in the hero wide receiver strategy and the double hero running back strategy, you can get a lot more creative with where you pick your heroes at running back this year. So this strategy, if you get your double hero at the top with wide receiver, you don't have to worry about falling into that cluster of a bunch of names that kind of blend in. And then at that point, when people are starting to try to catch up a wide receiver, the T. Higgins types, the JSN types, the Devontae Adams types, guys like that, like you said, maybe you take Kenneth Walker in the 3rd or Amari Hampton in the 3rd, and then you wrap back around in the 4th to get a guy like Trevion Henderson. If you can start double hero wide receiver and then in rounds 3 and 4 also get a double hero at running back, to me, that is an optimal 4 stack at this spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And this would be specifically applicable to wide receiver heavy formats. 3 wide receiver start leagues, full PPR. If you're in a standard league, if you're in a half PPR league, you probably don't want to start double hero wide receiver. Let's just be perfectly clear about that. You probably at least want to get 1 running back through the first 2 rounds. But in a full PPR league, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, or 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, or something like that, it does make a lot of sense to secure your 2 hammer wide receivers, knowing that in my league, for example, only 16 running backs went off the board before the end of the 4th round. So I feel confident that, like, my RB16 in my rankings right now is Kyron Williams. Like, I'd feel very comfortable with Kyron Williams as my 4th pick, and knowing that I got maybe a Breece Hall or a Walker or Amari Hampton as my 3rd pick, and I already started my draft with Malik Neighbors and Drake London.
Yeah, ideally, if you can leave the first 4 rounds with 2 running backs, because as we know, the fall off kind of hits. I would say after a few cluster of guys in round 5, if they went early round 5 in your league and you're left staring down the barrel of, do I reach maybe on Isaiah Pacheco? Do I like a guy like Caleb Johnson? Like, outside of, like, I would say the top 18 or so running backs, you start to get to a range where it's like, you kind of just pick your guys and you kind of got to screw ADP. So if that's the case, why not secure the 2 earlier on and take the falling values at wide receiver? Devontae Smith, George Pickens, Travis Hunter. Kind of show you how that looks in the mock draft, but that wide receiver range specifically in the rounds 5 through 7 area, I do much prefer to the running backs there.
Yeah, and the basis of that, too, is that the rounds 3 to 4 wide receivers are not that different from the rounds 5 to 7 wide receivers. And some of those guys we even have ranked in the rounds 3 to 4 area, and they don't go there, which is why we're more likely to take running backs, maybe an elite onesie in that territory. The backup strategy, if you do go with kind of like a hero wide receiver build there at the 6 to 8. So again, one of those 4 wide receivers, whether it's Jefferson, Neighbors, Puka, Nico, those are the 4 wide receivers we'd feel comfortable kind of bringing up to the round pick 7, pick 8 range. And then obviously Jefferson, both our wide receiver 3 and ranked at number 6 for us. Round 2, let's say you're in a league, it's a half PPR league, or you're in a league where running backs go very heavily off the board and you don't want to risk that there's no running backs left at the 306 or at the 307 or at the 308. Once you're back on the board, you could grab a Chase Brown in the mid-second round. You could grab a Bucky Irving in the mid-second round. You could grab maybe a falling Derrick Henry or Devon Achane in the mid-second round. Or you could take Brock Bowers. Again, if you want to do the onesie in round 2 instead of round 3, you could go with Brock Bowers in round 2. But the basis of the backup strategy here is that you're probably going to end up taking a onesie in round 3.
Exactly. And I would say if you're going to take a Brock Bowers in round 2, you almost need assurance like, yo, Chase Brown will be there in my third round, or Omari Hampton will be there in my third round. Like, you need conviction that a guy that you would be willing to take out running back in that mid to late round 2 range could fall back to you in the third, because otherwise I have a hard time doing that, knowing that a McBride or one of the quarterbacks are going to be there at that pick. And although you don't have Jaden Daniels in this range, I personally would also feel comfortable if Jaden Daniels is there at the 306, 307, 308, taking Jaden Daniels as well.
Yeah, but ideally, like I said at the beginning, the best case scenario for you is this. To me, it feels the coziest getting Trey McBride, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson in the mid-third round, as opposed to the early third round, which, like we said in the 1-4 video, you can bring them up there. We have them ranked up there.
Hey.
It's just that in the mid-third round, it feels like you're getting a nice value on them.
Which I guess we can unveil now that the video is out. Both me and Corey did take a quarterback in that early third round range. And trust me, it would feel, like you said, a lot more cozier if that was more so 306, 307 rather than 302 and 303.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you mentioned you might need assurances if you take Brock Bowers in the second round. Mm-hmm. I would say you could also have assurances at wide receiver. Like, maybe you're super in on a third round wide receiver. We are personally not super in on a third round wide receiver, but maybe T. Higgins is going to be there. Or maybe you're super Marvin Harrison pilled or Tyreek Hill pilled or something this year, and you feel comfortable that you'll get one of those guys there.
Maybe with the recent news, Keenan Allen signing, that Ladd McConkey could fall a few spots. Like, you would need an assurance like that for me to take Brock Bowers earlier, knowing that round 3 is more likely a better range to take my onesie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd say Brock Bowers, the only way I would draft him is if I was picking pick 1 to 4 and he fell to the very end of the second round, early to the third round. For me, I'm not really willing to take the plunge on him in the round 2 range. And again, you probably want assurances that you're not going to get locked out at running back, because again, we're talking about starting with a wide receiver. And if you take Brock Bowers in the second, or if you don't take a running back in the second, then you better be damn sure that Omari Hampton's going to be there for you in the third. You better be damn sure that Breece Hall or Kyron Williams or Kenneth Walker or James Cook or whatever running back you like in that territory is going to be there for you. So we talked about this in the 1-4 video, how to handle the onesies in general. We kind of give you an idea of how we're handling them in the mid-third round. If Trey McBride, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson are there, they're probably the best picks on the board, most likely. Based on our rankings, me and you both have Allen, McBride, and Jackson more so at the 2-3 turn. So if they're there in the mid-third, you're going to feel very comfortable taking those guys in the mid-third. In round 4 and 5, for the other onesies, let me ask you this. Are you comfortable taking, you mentioned you're comfortable taking Daniels kind of in that mid-third territory, but are you comfortable taking Kittle or Hurts there?
Kittle, Hurts in the mid-third, probably not. If they were in the late third, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the next video, I'm more so there. It would need to be, for the most part, for me, one of the top 3 quarterbacks or McBride.
Yeah, and if they fall to the 4th, obviously that's great value. You get George Kittle in the 4th round, Jalen Hurts in the 4th round, Jaden Daniels in the 4th round. That's obviously absolutely money, and that's how you'd handle the onesies in that situation. But I'm probably not bringing them up into the mid-third round. If Allen, Jackson, McBride, and Bowers are gone, you're probably not taking a onesie in the 3rd round. And then failing that, let's say in the 4th round, in the 5th round, there's no onesies that fall to you. Kittle's gone, Daniels is gone, Hurts is gone. Like, people are picking 9 to 12, probably take them off the board with either of their first 2 picks. Failing that, we just love the late round quarterback and late round tight end strategy. I would say of this area of the board, it's probably the most likely territory. I would be willing to take like a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, or a Sam Laporta or something like that. But generally speaking, we're just out on those guys at cost. We want to take those round 5 to 7 wide receivers, maybe an Isaiah Pacheco type at running back if they fall. Late round quarterback at tight end from rounds 8 to 12, we're just going to secure our biggest late round targets.
Yeah, and our personal favorite targets, if you were to wait at tight end, take a late round tight end. We both have both Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland aggressively ranked. For me, I actually have both in my top 75. I don't think you have them quite that high, but regardless, you don't need to take them that high. Even if you want to reach a little bit, secure them in the round 8, round 9 portion of your draft, I'm more than comfortable reaching, because for the most part in a lot of leagues, they'll probably find their way round 10, round 11. To me, those are your best bets at getting a difference maker at the tight end position. So I would rather try to push them up the board, make sure that I get them. Other targets in this range, maybe you're in on Mark Andrews. Maybe, for example, you get Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round. You want to pair him with Mark Andrews. Hint, hint.
Exactly what I did in the flock league.
Yep, Tucker Kraft. I actually was able to pair with Colston Loveland, getting that dynamic duo, rookie tight end that has upside. Tucker Kraft, established target in that Packers offense, also has some upside. And maybe you're in on guys like, Dalton Kincaid, David Njoku, maybe even a Dallas Goedert or Jake Ferguson in this range too.
Yeah, and then same with the late round quarterbacks. Generally, I like to get one positional advantage at the onesies if I can. But worst case scenario, you can just hammer running backs and wide receivers the beginning portion of your draft and then just go, yeah, I'm going to take Tyler Warren in round 8. And then round 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm going to go in on Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, Justin Herbert, and more. And as we talked about in the 1 to 4 video, you kind of can use your wide receivers as a compass and maybe your early round tight end as a compass and be like, yeah, I'm going to just take Caleb Williams because I took Rome Odunze in the mid 6th round or whatever. So I'm going to take Caleb Williams in round 10, stack those two guys up, and that's how I'm going to roll with my quarterback position. So we'll talk about the format adjustments, how we would adjust for standard, how we would adjust for other leagues, and then we'll get into the mocks. For standard leagues, we know that running back values are more important. Yeah. They're overinflated. So you probably don't want to go double hero wide receiver in a standard league. You probably want to secure at least one running back with your first or your second pick. And I would say, for me, I would say at the pick 5 through 7 range, you're probably going to get like Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb falling to you. So I'd be more likely to take my running back in round 2, but it depends. Because if you don't think that the running back is going to fall back to you, you might just have to take a Derrick Henry or a Christian McCaffrey or an Ashton Genty there.
And I would tend to agree. I would more than likely take a running back in the first because, I mean, as we pointed out in the 1 to 4 video, in a standard scoring lineup league last year, a guy like Derrick Henry was about 2.5 points per game better than Jamar Chase. It really just depends on when the cliff is for you. Like if you view, okay, well, this running back's probably going to about score the similar amount to Jamar Chase. Sure, if that's the case, take the wide receiver because there will be scarcity at that position in a standard league. However, if you can help it, I would like to get a workhorse in round 1 because by the time you wrap around in round 2, you're probably looking at the RB17, RB18, RB19 off the board.
Yeah, and this is specifically standard league advice only. In full PPR and half PPR, that probably won't be the case, which is why we covered that through the duration of this video. Again, start 3 wide receiver leagues, 2 flex, full PPR, really heavy wide receiver formats. I'm even more likely to go wide receiver in round 1, and I'm even more likely to go double hero wide receiver if it works out for you and you feel like you can get running backs in rounds 3, rounds 4, rounds 5. And that's kind of the format that my home league is, which is why I talked about that. 8 or a 10-man league, I mean, you actually are picking at the end of the board in an 8-man league. 5 to 8 is the end of the draft board, not the middle of the draft board. But if you're in a shallow league and you're picking mid to late end of the board, it is kind of ideal because you can strategize your turns very easily. You can have an elite tight end that you have in mind, see if he falls back to you if you punt him. You could have an elite quarterback in mind, see if he falls back to you if you punt him. And you're not going to miss out on those positions because if a run starts, you're going to have picks in rapid succession there. So that's kind of how I would handle 8 and 10-man leagues is yes, the onesies are going to matter more. Quarterback is going to matter more. Tight end is going to matter more. But because you're in the middle of the board, you don't really have to reach on anything because you feel like you can catch the runs when they happen. And then in a 14 and a 16-man league,
the exact
take less risk in the first picks. Yeah. You should have opportunities to grab some tier breaks at the rounds 2 and 3 range, but it could dry up for you. Your first round pick might be a lot worse than your league mates' first round picks in a 14 and 18 or in a 16-man league.
Well, that's the thing, right? In a 14 or a 16-man league, like you said, like you can't really have the luxury because in an 8 or 10-man league, sure, you take your onesie, you know they're going to hit, you know you're going to have the advantage there. You have more luxury of taking dart throws at running back and wide receiver because only really the top guys that hit actually matter. In a 14 or 16-man league, having depth, having a number of assets that can enter your lineup becomes so much more important. So I do think, especially at wide receiver, I want to tend to get those wide receivers early, and I'm much more willing to do a hero running back or a 0 running back strategy in a 14 or 16-man league, because at that point, if you hit on, the waiver wire running back, you're able to put all your fab into a guy that can have a workload. It's a lot more beneficial to your league because there's a lot more teams starving at wide receiver talent.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we're going to do 2 mock drafts. The first mock draft we're going to do on flockfantasy.com. I'm going to be picking from the 5 slot, Danny from the 8 slot, and we'll show you guys the first 7 or 8 rounds in depth, and then we'll sim to the end of the draft, show you the teams. And then on Sleeper, we'll do the same thing from the 6 and the 7 hole. And we'll showcase what it looks like when you go running back in the first round, what it looks like when you go double hero wide receiver and all that good stuff. So let's start it off with the first mock draft over on flockfantasy.com. All right, so quick shout out to Flock Fantasy. Of course, we have draft lobbies going live right now. You can join a PPR draft. You can, draft against real people who are preparing for their home leagues. But we're going to just use the draft simulation. We're going to draft against our rankings and all the expert rankings to show you guys a pretty good indication of what you might be looking at in this 5 to 8 range. And you can customize by your league settings. And of course, it is by expert consensus if you're a free subscriber to the site, and you can sort by mine and Danny's ranks if you are a paid subscriber to the site. So we'll get this thing going. All right, so we're now into the mock draft, and I'm picking from the 5 slot. Like I said, Danny's going to be picking from the 8 slot, and we are just drafting against the simulator, which is made up of our rankings, the other expert rankings on the site. I'm on the board here at the number 5 hole, and I am going to go with Saquon Barkley, who was the best available player. As we talked about, the top 4 goes as kind of chalk here. The guys that we think are going to go in the top 4 do go in the top 4. So I go with Saquon Barkley, and I'll kind of show you guys the strategy from that 5 spot when you go running back in the first round.
For sure. My 8th overall pick here, I get my 7th overall player, Nico Collins. Again, whether you're a Puka guy, a Brian Thomas Jr. guy, Drake London, a Monter, etc., I do like having a wide receiver in this range. So my guys pick Nico Collins, and I'll see what ends up wrapping back to me. Danny Bod setting the tone.
Yeah, and the running backs do fly off the board for you there. So we are both kind of looking at like worst case scenario. And this is why you use the flock simulators, because you're not going to get like crazy values falling to you.
100%. And again, if you have AJ Brown or Ladd McConkey ranked straight up above a Chase Brown, I think that'd be one thing. If Drake London had fallen to me, I would have gone with the double hero. But for me, my highest ranked player is actually Chase Brown. So not the optimal start that we mentioned, but again, you have to have multiple tools in your tool belt.
Yeah, and exactly. And the Corey bot, who's obviously drafting off of my rankings, does go with AJ Brown, who obviously would have been great if he had fallen to me. Ladd McConkey is my highest rated wide receiver. Bucky Irving, my highest rated running back. I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey because I do kind of want to have a little bit more of a balanced start. That's the one thing I do love about picking in the middle of the board, is that you do feel like you can build balanced teams. You're probably not going to be building, zero RB type of rosters, because you feel like you can catch tier breaks where they happen. And then as we talked about, the optimal strategy when you go early round running back is that you go BPA. Ladd McConkey was my BPA in the second round. And then you probably are going to feel comfortable going with an elite onesie. However, all of them go off the board. So no McBride, no Josh Allen, no Lamar Jackson. My best available onesie would be Jalen Hurts, but I actually feel comfortable taking the risk on Marvin Harrison, knowing that he is not my wide receiver 1 on this roster. I have Ladd McConkey as the better wide receiver of my duo there.
Yeah, and you mentioned the onesies dried up. Not for me. Like I said at the top, Jaden Daniels, I do consider in that tier with Allen and Jackson. And at 308, I feel like I got a smashing value here.
Yeah, and you definitely could have gone with, personally, I have Jalen Hurts ranked over Jaden Daniels. You could have gone with Jalen Hurts if you guys feel the same way there, or you could have gone even with some of those running backs that ended up kind of tapering off at the end of the 3rd and 4th rounds.
Yep, and like we said, we actually didn't detail the round 4 portion in the 6 to 8 part, but I do think regardless of the position, whether it's wide receiver or running back, you take your best player available. And for me, that would be Trevion Henderson. So let me just make sure the pick goes in, and boom.
Yeah, and of course, the best strategy is always going to take your best player available. But in the early rounds, you do kind of need to be aware of what position will be best player available. And in round 5 to 7, it probably will be wide receiver. In round 3 to 4, it could be the elite onesies or the running backs. So if you know that, that kind of influences what you'll do in the rounds 1, round 2, round 3 range, where you feel like you have less flexibility to know. And you guys can see by my rankings, it is a lot of wide receivers as the best players available. So I'm going to be taking Mike Evans with this pick, and then I'll probably end up taking another wide receiver most likely with my next pick, because my next available running back that I value in this territory is actually Isaiah Pacheco, who I would feel a little too early taking at the 505 here. So I'll grab between George Pickens, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle. I mean, I have a lot of upside here with Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison, Mike Evans. I'll go with a guy who I feel like is a little bit of a safer projection in Zay Flowers. I feel like I got a good projection on a great offense, a good receiver, has an MVP caliber quarterback. I already have my upside with Harrison and McConkey.
Yep. And the board fell beautifully for me. All wide receivers, all red at the top here. So I will be taking my next highest rated receiver, and that's going to be George Pickens of my Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and structurally, you have kind of like a prototypical hero wide receiver, and I have a prototypical kind of hero RB. We didn't really decide on any of that stuff. We just kind of went that way when the best players available fell to us.
Yeah, and speaking of best player available, it actually still remains at the wide receiver position. I guess I'm going to be a little bit higher on this guy than you, but I am totally comfortable taking Stephon Diggs in the 6th round. Does sound like he's healthy. Does sound like he's going to be ready day 1, and I'm getting potentially Drake May's number 1 wide receiver. So feel comfortable about that as my wide receiver 3 in this build.
Yeah, and I did mention briefly during the video that if I'm going to take the venture into Sam Laporta territory, into Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow territory among the onesies, this is the area of the board I feel comfortable doing it. And the main reason for that is just because it does kind of maybe dry up at running back and wide receiver in this area of the board. So I'm going to take Sam Laporta here, who would be my highest, not my highest valued player because Josh Downs is still ahead of him, but I already had 4 receivers. I don't feel the need that I have to go in that direction. I could go Patrick Mahomes here. I could go with a running back here. I think it's a smidge too early for Tracy, but I feel like I could get like an Aaron Jones falling back to me, or a Travis Etienne, or a Joe Mixon falling back to me. So
Falling back?
I don't love the idea of grabbing another onesie after I already took them, but I have my 2 wide receivers and my 2 flexes filled out. So I actually am going to grab Patrick Mahomes here at the 705 because I feel like the upside is there for me to be able to return on that pick. And I already am pretty much every other starting spot filled out.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're expecting one of them to fall back, I would doubt that both Tracy and Jones fall back. My highest rated player here would actually be the 2 tight ends and Tyrone Tracy. However, I'll see if I can. But I know the Danny bot at the turn is going to go a little crazy. I'll take Addison. I do need more wide receiver help than running back help. And Tyrone Tracy does go to Avery. That was what I was worried about. Now I'm in a position where don't really like the running backs on the board. I do see that Deebo Samuel is available at wide receiver. But like I said, I'm willing to take Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren inside of the top 75. Guess what? The 805 is not inside the top 75. So I will grab Colston Loveland here.
Yeah, and I'm feeling pretty yikes at running back, but early season touches, I feel okay about Travis Etienne. I could go with like a Michael Pittman or something like that, but I'm going to grab Etienne here. He's like the last running back I feel comfortable starting in week 1.
Yeah, no, that was a good pickup. We do see the land bot valuing Tank Bigsby at the 901 as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting how it involves between Etienne and Bigsby this year.
Yep. And again, I have my wide receivers. I have my quarterback. I have my tight end. I do have my top running back. I definitely would like more running back depth, but I feel like, you know what? I'll grab one more running back here. I'll take an upside swing that J.K. Dobbins holds off RJ Harvey for a while because I do think that he can. And I do think that he, as a top 20 running back in fantasy last year, has an opportunity to still be very, very productive again.
Yep. And likewise for me at the running back position, I do like Jaylen Warren a good bit here. Getting a little bit more pessimistic on some of the reports out of Pittsburgh in regards to Caleb Johnson's 3-down appeal right away. We are hearing potentially that this backfield, at least to start the year, could potentially be a 50-35, 15 of Warren, Johnson, and Gainwell respectively. So don't mind that for early touches on a thin running back build. And I'll probably grab another running back here. Again, let me just check my best available players just to make sure. So I have a couple wide receivers that are listed high, but I have a running back here that I know you're going to take if I don't. So I will take him here because I do think that his ADP is about to skyrocket given recent news. Give me Austin Eckler.
Yeah, there you go. And I'll make this last pick, and then we'll kind of simulate to the end of the draft, and then we'll see how our teams ended up turning out. Again, I already have my quarterback, already have my tight end. I'm probably not going in that direction when I spend an early pick on them. I could go for a wide receiver off the bench, Rashad Bateman, Christian Kirk, somebody like that, Jaden Higgins, the rookie upside swing. I'm just going to keep banking up a running back upside. I feel like I got some early season guys with ETN and with Dobbins, so I'm going to grab Trey Benson on the off chance that James Conner misses some time here. So we'll be simming to the end of the draft, and we'll see you guys for the end. So we're to the end of the draft. Again, I backfill with some more running backs, grab another tight end swing with Dalton Kincaid. You grab some more running backs as well, grab some wide receiver swings. And of course, Flock Fantasy does have the post-draft review. You can see how the experts do, see how we end up showing up. I don't really love how my team turned out, but that's why you practice, right? Like maybe in that situation, I don't go Marvin Harrison in the 3rd round, and instead I go with a different running back in the 3rd round because, you know, going with Marvin Harrison in the 3rd round did put me behind the 8 ball at running back to the point that I'm starting J.K. Dobbins and Travis Etienne at the beginning of the season. So that's why you do mock drafts. That's why you get the practice in. Let's head on over to the sleeper mock draft. So the draft is underway. And as we made reference to, sometimes you get a gift. You're picking at the 106. You have Jahmyr Gibbs fall to you, Danny. And we can give you guys a little bit of an alternate look. I'm obviously going to be, enacting the strategy we talked about earlier, which is that, hey, at 6 through 8, you're probably taking a wide receiver. You're probably going double hero wide receiver, or maybe single hero wide receiver. But you have the opportunity here to draft a player that you don't think would be on the board. And obviously, this is the best case scenario in your position.
Where do I have this guy ranked, Corey, overall?
Like 103, 104?
3rd overall player, and you get that at 6. If you get that gift in your draft, you just thank your league mates and move on.
Yeah, for sure. And then on the board for me at 107 with Jefferson, who's my 6th overall player, who should have been in that slot where you took him. Obviously, Gibbs fell to you there. It would be between Malik Neighbors and Puka Nacua here. Malik Neighbors is currently my 107, Puka Nacua my 108. We're getting more optimism on the Matthew Stafford situation. We're getting more optimism on Malik Neighbors' health as well. He's back at practice. So I'm going to roll with Malik Neighbors. He's going to be my hero wide receiver here. And again, from this portion of the draft, we talked about in 6 to 8 strategy, usually double hero wide receiver is going to end up making a lot of sense. And this is why, because you had a guy fall to you in round 1. I have a guy falling to me in round 2, which makes this double hero wide receiver strategy very viable. Could have been AJ Brown that fell to me, or it could be Drake London. So Drake London's going to be the guy that I go with. This is the double hero wide receiver start we talked about, where you end up getting 2 guys that are top 10, top 12 projections, wide receiver ones in their prime, both with wide receiver ones under their belt, and they're, young players that are ascending talents.
Yeah, and I'm back here at the 2-7. My highest rated player is actually still a running back. And although we typically applied it to if you start with Saquon, we did say in that portion that you're kind of at the mercy of the draft board. You kind of have to take what falls to you. And even though I would prefer grabbing another wide receiver here, getting my hero here, I cannot pass up Chase Brown at this point. I have him ranked 17th overall. I get him here at the 19th overall player. Again, structurally, I will have to make ends meet at the wide receiver position, but I feel like I can catch up here.
Yeah, and good for you that all the onesies went off the board, which means you do have some guys sliding to you like T. Higgins here. Because if you had the best player available being Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Trey McBride, you probably would have been forced to go with that and then have to fill out your wide receivers later.
Yeah, well, I'll let you make the decision on T. Higgins because my highest ranked receiver here is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, not taking T. Higgins here would be really challenging knowing that I have these great wide receivers on the board for me. I don't really want to try and land the plane here with no running backs. Again, the reason we said double hero wide receiver is a great option. It depends on your format. We're doing a pretty basic 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, full PPR type of mock. So yeah, T. Higgins is still a starter for me. He's still a really good option for me. But I feel like I'm going to miss a lot of these running backs if I don't at least grab one now. So between my top running backs, I do have Amari and Hampton ranked the highest. I'm going to go with Amari and Hampton here. T. Higgins, of course, not going to be an option for me, but I already have 2 great wide receivers. I can stomach that. Hopefully I do get one of my other running backs falling back to me. And Kenneth Walker, in fact, does fall back to me. He would be my highest rated running back. I could go with like a Devontae Adams or a Jalen Hurts falling back to me because we did say that too. If you are in the 4th round and you get one of Hurts, Kittle, or Jaden Daniels falling back to you, it is an absolute gift. So I have a very hard decision to make here. Do I go with the Jalen Hurts pick or do I go with the Kenneth Walker pick? Knowing that I took a rookie running back with my first running back selection, I'm going to lean with Kenneth Walker, but that is not an easy decision. I very easily could have taken Jalen Hurts there too.
Agreed. And if I had gotten a wide receiver in round 2, like let's say Chase Brown went where Team 8 went and I got AJ Brown at this pick, I'd feel a lot more comfortable taking the onesie because I am behind the 8 ball at wide receiver. There is still a wide receiver here I have ranked inside of my top 15. A lot more positive reports in regards to his quarterback's health. Matthew Stafford returning to practice. I'm perfectly comfortable grabbing Devontae Adams here, a guy that my 3rd round pick may or may not have been comped to at times.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Getting Jalen Hurts at the 409 is great for team 4. And
what's he going to do at receiver?
Yeah, exactly. If I had gotten like a better running back at the 307 or a guy that I feel really comfortable in getting a big workload right away, I might have gone with Jalen Hurts there and just been like, yeah, screw it. I'm taking the elite quarterback.
Yeah. And I'm at a point where, again, you also have to know what your league room is going to be telling you. And I know because I'm drafting on Sleeper here, instead of drafting on Flock, where I know it's going to be a little bit of a sharper board, they're going to take these wide receivers early. I'd be left in the 6th round staring down the barrel of guys that I don't like. I'm going to do something that I don't usually do. TreVeyon Henderson is my highest ranked player. I'm going to take TreVeyon Henderson, and I'm not going to have to worry about running back for the rest of the draft because, like I said, I know in this ADP list, the wide receivers will fall.
Yeah, and like you said, that is very unique to the platform that you're using. TreVeyon Henderson went at the 402 in our Flock League draft, and he probably will go in the 4th round of a lot of your home league drafts as well. But sometimes you get a falling value and you go, yeah, TreVeyon Henderson, because he's buried in the ADP, fell to me at 506. And I think, yeah, you had absolutely no choice but to select him there. The next 2 rated players for me are both receivers, Xavier Worthy and Devontae Smith. I do have Devontae Smith 1 spot higher, so I'm going to roll with him. And Xavier Worthy hopefully could fall back to me, but he is going to go at the turn there. I feel really good with this kind of like onslaught flex position start. I don't really have any onesies that stuck out to me at my picks other than that Jalen Hurts one. So I'm just going to continue to hammer these guys out. And unfortunately, Danny, I think I'm probably going to break your heart here.
I don't blame you.
My highest rated player overall is Travis Hunter, and absolutely absurd that you can get him at the 606 on Sleeper.
A guy I took at the 411 in the Flock League. All I'm going to say, Sleeper, fix your fucking ADP. Actually, don't fix your ADP so more people can hop on Flock. more people can hop on Flock, and we also do draft our fantasy drafts on the platform. But anyways, Travis Hunter 6'6", the seal of the draft. I don't think anybody can debate that. A guy that I really like here, my next highest ranked receiver, wide receiver 24 for me is Roma Dunze. I will take Roma Dunze at this spot right now. Feeling very good. Got my running backs, got both of my wide receiver spots, and both of my flexes at this point. And honestly, I'm probably just going to keep stockpiling flex talent because we're seeing the onesies ripped off the board. And I would rather just wait and see what falls to me rather than trying to join in on the run. The last thing you want to do, unless you know for certain nothing can fall back, is join in the middle of a run because you're inherently not getting enough value. For me, the value on the board here is still at wide receiver, and I'm going to have to repay you because you ripped my heart out with Travis Hunter. Mecca Igbukah is not making it to you, brother.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that's probably what I would have went with there. You got to remember too, for those of you guys drafting right here, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, all off the board. So why would I take a quarterback right now? Exactly. Only two other teams in the league, myself, you, and I believe team 11 and team 8, sorry, 4 other teams in the league don't have quarterbacks right now. So there's no point of me just being like, okay, next rated quarterback, it's time to take my quarterback. Here comes Kyler Murray.
Gotta play the value.
Time to take Jared Goff. It's like, I'll just keep stacking flex talent because nobody in this room outside of a couple of us are incentivized to take quarterbacks. And the same could be said for tight end because more than half the room has tight ends on the board right now. So I'll probably punt quarterback and tight end to my late round picks. And as we talked about, those late round targets at quarterback and tight end. And I'm just going to keep stockpiling flex talent. I think Chris Olave is by far the best player on the board. But I do think that at running back, Tony Pollard is a bit of a tier break here. So I'm going to grab Tony Pollard, knowing that I have Amari Hampton. He's a rookie. Maybe I can't start him right away. So I'll go with Tony Pollard. I feel pretty comfortable in him. And I think I could probably get another receiver later if I absolutely needed to.
Yep. No, I think that was a very strong pick.
Yep. So we're going to make one more pick here, and then we'll simulate to the end of the draft. Tyler Warren is my highest rated tight end on the board. Colston Loveland shortly behind him. I could grab an upside swing receiver in Matthew Golden, which is actually probably what I'm going to end up doing. And then obviously, like I said, Kyler Murray would be a high rated quarterback for me. My stacking quarterback partners here are not optimal, I would say, because Jalen Hurts is already off the board. I'm not huge on Michael Penix, Russell Wilson as a one quarterback solution for me. So Trevor Lawrence kind of my only option as far as like a stacking partner. I am going to go with Matthew Golden because I just want the upside swing at the wide receiver position. And then again, I'm going to fill up my quarterback and tight end at the end of this draft.
Exactly. And because I started with 2 running backs off the top, I got my RB3 in the mid rounds. What I got to do is get one more wide receiver I feel confident shuffling in and out of my lineup. I'm going to attack the wide receiver position with numbers. And to me, the best receiver available. Again, I love Josh Downs. I love Jaden Reed. They do have the questionable tags. For me, because he is healthy, I'll lean towards Ricky Pearsall because I do have a ton of upside in regards to Igbukah and Adunze here.
So we're closing out these drafts. I get a late round quarterback in Kyler, late round tight end in Kraft, fill out some running backs and wide receivers there at the end. And then you end up doing the kind of double stack Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, see who works out for you. And then Colston Loveland, obviously you took as your late round tight end. But that is the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Let us know picks 5 to 8 if you guys got some good tips for how you can attack your drafts. And of course, if you guys want to know all of our targets, all of our rankings, everything that you guys should need for your fantasy football drafts to dominate it, head on over to flockfantasy.com, get the season pass. $34 gets you our draft guide and all the draft guides of your other favorite creators, all of our rankings, access to the tools from August all the way through January. You will have access completely to the site, and you'll also get some start sit vouchers as well. So definitely check that out if you guys are interested. It's the best deal out there. And of course, if you want to practice some of these strategies, you can use our Flock Simulator, and you can head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com, and you can use the promo code FSC for a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Best ball, it's no waivers, no in-season management. All you do is draft. You could do a bunch of drafts, get ready for your home league, real money drafts for big prizes, and that will get you well prepared. It is like boxing Mike Tyson to get ready for your high school bully, as we talk about already. Both linked down below in the pinned comment if you guys are interested. But with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.